Right, Joe, the end of the season is near, which means we are approaching the transfer window opening. It'll be here before we know it. So we've given Nieve a task. You are tasked with picking one player that every Premier League club must sign this summer. Now, something to note, we have swapped the two already relegated sides, Burnley and Wolves, because, of course, they won't be playing Premier League football next season, with the two already promoted sides, which, of course, is Coventry and Ipswich, who will be playing Premier League football next season. We'll go in alphabetical order, apart from the newly promoted teams, who we'll come to at the end. So, Nieve, first up, Arsenal, who's the one player you think they must sign. And it's an interesting start, because you've actually got two.
I can't decide, so I'm hoping that you'll be able to help me. Keinan Yildiz and Bradley Barcola.
Wow.
I think it's the timing of it with Barcola in terms of he started 12 matches this season. And I just think there's an opportunity there to sign a player who creates so much. He's so talented. And he might look to go somewhere where he'll play a little bit more. But then Keinan Yildiz is just so talented as well. They've both got that drive. They both run back and do defending when they need to. They both would settle in very quickly to Arsenal. You could say Barcola is a multiple trophy winner, so he can come in with that confidence, and Arsenal are looking to win trophies now for the next few years. But Keinan Yildiz, I think, would work so well next to Gyökeres as well, like he did with Vlahovic at Juventus. So what do you think?
Kweku.
I would go with Yildiz. I went to watch Milan versus Juventus. Unfortunately, he only played 10 minutes in that game, but he's a player that I've kept an eye on this season. He's super exciting. His numbers have only gone up. He's in double figures this year in Serie A, and a couple of years younger than Barcola. And when you look at Arsenal, their front line is functional, but now they need numbers. And I think that he's a player's probably got a little bit of a higher ceiling than Barcola.
Yeah,
so I'll go Yildiz.
I think I'd agree with that. Maybe Barcola's the more realistic signing, but Yildiz maybe with a higher ceiling. Their stats are actually quite comparable. 14 goals, 10 assists in 49 for Yildiz, 12 goals, 8 assists in 51 for Barcola. But you're going with Yildiz?
Yeah.
Let's get him
so
down,
we'll stick him up.
Next up, we've got Aston Villa, of course, made a Europa League final this week. Potentially a Champions League club again next year.
I've gone for Omar Mamouche, and this is on the basis that they could maybe get a loan deal in which they would cover the wages, sort of similar to with Rashford, Sancho, Asensio, that kind of thing. And I just think whilst Emery is deciding what he wants to do to that forward line for Villa, who's good enough to stay, you know, what sort of reshuffle do you want? I think they like to have each season a couple of players who have that real quality and premium. And he's someone who I think Emery would believe that he can figure out whether or not Mamouche is best on the left, down the middle, and get the most out of him. And Mamouche is a fantastic player.
So, wish he could got more minutes. Yeah. All right, let's stick him up. We'll go to Bournemouth.
Decent shout, yeah.
Bournemouth,
Familiar
yes,
face.
I've gone for a sentimental
The return.
Yes, Nathan Ake.
Yeah.
So obviously Senesi looks to be on the other way. So he's someone who can come in. And I think the role that he would then play next to James Hill is more of a sort of cover role where James Hill will go chase the striker and Ake will cover the space, and his intelligence and experience will allow him to do that. And yeah, I mean, I think if a move like this was to happen, I would have thought maybe January to get minutes ahead of the World Cup, but it didn't. But I think, he needs to go somewhere where he's going to get more minutes.
Do you see that happening?
Yeah, that'll be a fantastic sign. I'll take him at my football club, Ake.
Would you?
Yeah, for sure. Just in terms of experience, in terms of what he brings, and like you said, the minutes have been limited with Gehi and Kuzanov at City starting those games. I really like that move, especially because, like you say, Senesi's probably out of the football club.
Okay,
Yep.
Let's go to Brentford. Interesting shout for Brentford.
Yeah.
Oof, Darwin Núñez.
The return again to the Premier League this time.
Because I just think when you look at him when he's at his best and was at Liverpool, he's such an asset. He's so useful. And in an intense team like Brentford as well, I think he would really fit in. And I also think, like, for example, maybe you wouldn't use the word clinical to describe him, but Iker Thiago's got the second most goals in the league, and I wouldn't use that word to describe him either. So I don't necessarily think there'd be too much pressure for that. But I think he would really develop at a club like Brentford in that environment, and I think he would look at that and think, this is my chance to just set the record straight of how good I am.
I don't love that one.
Really?
I don't love
Really?
that one.
Go on,
No.
why?
Look at his record in Saudi, and it's only, I think, scored 6 goals, 16 games.
9 goals, 5 assists in
all
24 appearances.
And,
Yeah.
so, and
One in 10,
if you look at players who go to Saudi, their numbers normally inflate. And when I look at Brentford, I prefer it when they kind of develop strikers in-house, even from their time in the Championship. You look at Scott Hogan or Ollie Watkins going through to Wisa and then Wemo and Ivan Toney. I don't love this one. I don't think this one necessarily works. I don't really see where he fits into the team.
Fair
personally.
enough.
Okay.
Let's go to Brighton.
Yes. Nathan the cat,
Okay.
not Nathan the dog. I've gone for Nathan the cat because Brighton were interested in him in January. That's the only reason why I monitored him at Anderlecht, because I thought it's interesting. They're looking at this 17-year-old who is 6'4", centre mid. Watched him, and I can see why. The first thing that stood out to me is his gliding. He covers a lot of ground with his legs. I think if he can speed up his turn, he'll be incredible on the recovery. But then the smoothness of his passing, he's always looking for a forward pass, and whether that's the long-range passing, short-range passing, really, really good. I think as well at Brighton, they'll help increase his ability to make that decision a bit quicker, so he releases the ball a bit quicker. But for a 17-year-old, there's talent here, and I think that Brighton could end up being the team to acquire him.
It's a very Brighton move.
And if there's a talented 17-year-old that Brighton can sign,
Chelsea will be picking him up in 2 years.
It will be, yeah.
So let's go to Chelsea next.
They're very good at recruiting players, aren't they? And then selling them on, yeah. Next up. Oh, Iliman and Jai, Chelsea.
Iliman and Jai, yeah, I just think with Chelsea sort of getting themselves into situations where their wide players find themselves in 1v1s, dribbling with the ball, tight situations, I think he would be an upgrade on what you already have, basically.
Yeah, I really like him. I think he's one of the best players outside of the traditional top six. I just think on that right-hand side, Cole Palmer can play off the right-hand side, so can Esteval. And Chelsea brought in so many wingers in recent seasons. So I love his profile. I love him as a player, but I just don't know if Chelsea would be the right move for him at this point of his career.
OK, yeah, we will be discussing some of Kweku's Chelsea signings in the next part, so we'll come on to them later. But Palace for now.
Yeah, I've gone for Wilson Isidore.
OK.
Who has not really been getting too much opportunity to start at Sunderland, and that's just because Regis Labrie has enjoyed having Brian Bobby and what he brings and his profile of striker. But then that doesn't take away from the fact that I think Isidore has the pace. When I've seen him in situations where he needs to use a variety of finishing, he's done just that. And I think there's a real talent here. And I think, Palace could be a good place for him to
So do you think Mateta will leave then in the summer? Is that the thinking here? Because obviously they bought Strand Larsen in January, didn't they, as well? So
Yeah, potentially. That's sort of what I'm thinking.
OK. Next up, Everton. So one player they must sign this summer, Liam Delap.
Wow.
Yeah. I just think David Moyes, I think he could thrive under David Moyes and at Everton, a team that have a little bit less of the ball. They average just over 43% possession. Looking at the way how useful he was in that season with Ipswich, where he scored 12 goals as well, I think his confidence and form could really...
Let's ask you as a Chelsea fan, because obviously from last season, the praise and how well he did in his Premier League season with Ipswich, comparatives. Now, how do you sort of assess how his Chelsea career has gone? Because obviously 2 goals, 3 assists in 36 won't be the numbers that he wants. There's obviously a lot of other factors at play with that. But where do you stand on Liam Delap as a Chelsea fan?
I was excited when we signed him.
Yeah, a lot of Chelsea fans were.
Yeah, for sure. And I did think he'd be kind of the successor to Harry Kane when it comes to England starting striker. He scored 12 league goals for a struggling Ipswich side in the Premier League, but it just hasn't worked out for him. He hasn't really settled, and when you look at the quality required and the pressure that comes with playing for a team like Chelsea that are always under the microscope, I feel like he would benefit from going to a team like Everton and maybe refinding himself. If you look at Everton, it's been by committee in terms of strikers, it's a rotating kind of roster when it comes to strikers at Everton. But I do think Delap is a player that has got ability, has got talent, and we've seen him score goals in the Premier League. So a move to a team like Everton, I think, will be good for him.
Yeah, it's a very David Moyes style signing, isn't it? Fulham.
Good shout.
Yep. I've gone for Leandro Trossard.
Another Arsenal player they want to bring into their squad. They've got a few of them there,
the theme. Yeah, I just think that he'd really suit Fulham. They've got a lot of players who I think are really good passers of the ball, technical players, and I think the timing of it could be a good time for them to make that.
Yeah, I really like him. I love my wingers to have pace, and when you've already got a technical winger who's good with the ball at his feet in Harry Wilson, you've got Kweku on the other side. I feel like Trossard at 31 doesn't necessarily have that blistering pace. I like the move, but I don't know about the fit, maybe.
Wilson leaving, though?
Yeah,
that free
transfer.
I know,
yeah.
So,
I think Trossard's a solid player as well. I think he's a bit underrated in that.
Do you think?
I know he's not scored, I think,
Underrated?
25. My point is with Trossard, A lot of Arsenal fans will always talk about they need someone on the left-hand side. He regularly plays. I know he hasn't scored in, I think, 25 appearances in all comps this year, but he's got 11 goals and assists in the Prem. Only Gyökeres has scored more. He regularly plays in multiple positions. And I always think everyone looks at that area as if they need improving. But I think for the money that they bought him for, and if they were to sell him, that you could acquire him for, I think he's a fairly solid player.
Yeah. I think he'd be a good sort of player who would he'd sort of drift around for Fulham and just help move the ball around and sort of be that technical quality, experienced player.
Next up, I love this suggestion. I think it's a real Leeds United style signing.
I do, Ladislav Krejci.
Decent shout.
Every time I've watched Wolves, he's massively stood out. His presence, his leadership. He's the captain of Czech Republic as well. And I just think he's fantastic. I think if it looks like Pascal Struijk will be leaving potentially that left centre-back role in the back three, if they continue to play like that Leeds next season, he'd just slot in perfectly. And he can play in midfield as well. He's good on the ball, so I think he'd replicate the physical nature of Struijk and also the passing too. So I think it'd be a good signing.
Yeah, he's on loan, isn't he, from Girona? Wolves do have the option to make transfer permanent in the summer, so it'd be interesting to see what happens with him. But it's a decent shout. Liverpool then.
And Kuba Minter, because with Salah going, I think it would be borderline impossible to replicate the goals of Salah without really spending like big. So get a player who can help bring out the goals of the player you've already signed and got at the club, Isak, and recover that and get the goals that way. He's so fast. I mean, he's recorded 36.11 kilometres per hour this season, which for context, Haaland's recorded 36.2. He's young, but I think his body strength is already pretty good, and he uses it well to sort of recover the ball, but dribble with the ball as well. And there's just lots of glimpses of a very talented player. Third most completed dribbles in the Premier League this season. Only Doku and Jai. I think you're right as well. I think with Salah, it's impossible to replace Salah with one player. I think that's going to be the key, isn't it? There's going to be
not going to be cheap though, Minter. Again, Brighton, really difficult.
Speaking of not going to be cheap, Man City, and you've got Elliot Anderson. And do you think this will happen? Because there's a lot of rumours. I'll ask both of this question. Do you expect Elliot Anderson to be a Man City player next season?
I do, I do. We don't know who the Man City manager is going to be, though. And so I think that makes a big difference. But he's a player that's got so much quality, and his ability on the ball, his physicality, he's the perfect Premier League centre midfielder. And I feel like a lot of teams...
so many clubs will be linked with him.
Will be happy with him.
How much is he going to cost? Let's be realistic here, because Nottingham Forest, looks like they are going to stay up now. They're not going to be probably in the European space, but Marinakis is really hard to deal with. We saw that with Morgan Gibbs-White last season, ended up signing a new contract. He's not going to sell cheap. How much is he going to cost?
Oh, it's upwards of 100, right?
Do you think?
Maybe.
I think the world of those 100+ million centre midfielders, like 2 or 3 years ago when we had the Enzo Fernandez, Caicedo, Declan Rice, I think we're past that now. I feel like £100 million.
I don't think we are, because I don't think it's necessarily about how much you value a player. It's about how much the club that's in the driving seat, which is Forest, how much do they value him? And especially with noise around Gibbs-White as well. There's in their mind, if that's what they think he is worth, then that's just what he's worth.
It reminds me a lot of Rice at West Ham. Obviously he went on, won that Conference League, and Anderson didn't get over the line in the Europa League. But in terms of that level of England regular now, you'd expect him to start at the World Cup. 23 years of age, it feels like he's...
The age profile often dictates the fee as well. The age profile and length of contract. The fact that he is still quite young would suggest that it's going to be a big transfer fee to get him out of that.
Not worth 100 million. I think
you don't think he's worth 100 million?
You could go do a bit of scouting and go and find a player that's half the price.
But then you've got this assurances that you've got this Premier...
If you go and do a bit of scout, how much is Tchouaméni going to go for?
Do you know what I mean? Money, surely.
I really like him, but £100 million for a player that doesn't give you goals is...
But I think the facts are, though, that it's the concept with these higher price range players, it's the simple matter of it's not about what we think a player is, it's about what that club is and what it means to them. And I think it's totally reasonable that Forest would look at the market and say, this is what others have gone for, this is ours.
Yeah, he's not going to be cheap. Good debate, though. Let us know what you think, how much you think Elliot Anderson is worth and how much you think he'll cost and where he'll go. Man United's Tonali.
Sandro Tonali, another club that I don't think can cut corners with this position. I think they've got such talented attackers. They've got Mainu and Bruno in midfield. I think you bring someone like Tonali into it to increase the intensity in there, and you unlock so much more. And I think this could be the summer to try and do it, with Newcastle obviously being where they are in the table.
Would you like that, United fan?
I think he's a fabulous player, Are you saying this is going to replace Casemiro, potentially?
Yeah.
I think he's one of the best midfielders in the league. But I think it's going to be really difficult to sign him from Newcastle. We talk about big fees.
Yeah.
But if Newcastle think they can get a decent fee and then they can go ahead and, so there's been I'm referencing...
We're speaking of Newcastle.
Yeah, but the Edison that I put forward is the Edison at Atalanta.
Oh, my God.
Sorry. Who's that?
Who is that? Come on, seriously.
So just pretend.
Pretend that is Edison at Atalanta.
Pretend this is the Edison at Atalanta that you're looking at right now.
On behalf of whoever did that on Saturday Social behind the scenes.
Shocking.
And my thought process is we don't know what the future... don't know what the future of Tonali and Joe Linton is at Newcastle.
Sorry, Nick's got her hand over the face of Edison.
Because you'll never know. Like, this could be... This is him.
Yeah. We'd never know.
We apologise.
And my thought process is Newcastle have got their own transition to go through. So if they think they could make a bit of profit but still build a midfield around Bruno and keep Bruno at the club, then I think that Edison would be a really good candidate at Atalanta. His contract ends next year.
Yeah.
Now, I know
he's heavily linked with United as well, isn't he?
Yeah, and they want around 40 million euros for him. So I think Newcastle, they could look at him. He's super fast on the ball as well, at driving with it. He's very tenacious, and I think he'd complement Bruno Guimaraes.
And he can always play in sticks. You know what? Joe and I both in rehearsal said it seems a strange fit, doesn't it? We're complimenting all your picks. The one that we Edison actually just moved.
Now we understand why.
Yeah, fair enough. We'll move on. No one will notice.
Okay, for Forest, I've gone with Aaron Wan-Bissaka. But if West Ham are to get relegated, I think he's a player that should still be in the Premier League. And we've seen him week in, week out. Very, very good player. Very
different style of player as well to Aina.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's nice young.
I think this is a position where a bit of competition could be necessary. I think with Ola Aina.
Yeah, and Aina obviously suffered a hamstring injury this season. He missed a lot of football, and I feel like Wan-Bissaka, like I say, is a good Premier League footballer.
Okay, next up, Sunderland, who's got to say, we're talking about recruitment, recruited so well. In the summer, I was at the playoff final where they edged past that. And if you said then they'd be mid-table Premier League club, largely down to their recruitment. So they've done that very well. If they were to bring in one key player, though.
They're so close to the teams like Brentford and Bournemouth. And if you look at their overall numbers, their defensive numbers are very similar to Brentford. Both got 10 clean sheets. But you look at the goals. Only 3 teams have scored less goals than Sunderland this season, and they only create 1.7 big chances per game. So I think if they found just a new way to score goals. And so I went with Sorba Thomas, who at Stoke this season has 21 goals and assists. And his speciality for me, watching him, is set pieces and crosses. So I'm thinking if they can increase their crosses, if he can replicate the accuracy in the Championship, in the Premier League, for the striker, for Dan Ballard, it's just a new way of getting a bit more goals, which could bridge that gap and take them to sort of the Brentford and the Bournemouths.
Love that one.
No shout. Very good shout.
Spurs.
Next up, I like this shout as well as a Spurs fan.
Yeah.
James Trevor, because it looks like Vicario's heavily linked with Inter Milan, other clubs. So it looks like Spurs will be in the market for a goalkeeper. And you'd think Trafford will want regular first-team football. Linked with quite a few Premier League clubs, though, I would say.
Yeah.
Why have you gone with Trafford?
Yeah, because I wasn't really sure what to pick, who to pick, where to pick.
Where to start.
So I thought James Trafford as well, from watching him at Bolton, Burnley in the Championship, this isn't a player that shies away from if Tottenham were to get relegated. I think he would be fine with a year in the Championship. I think he would look at the fact that he's still so young and think about his next 5 years as a footballer. And Tottenham's still a great place to be.
Totally agree.
And so I think that he's a player that would actually make that move, basically.
Interesting point.
Stick him up.
Like it.
West Ham. Now, this is this dependent selection on whether or not they stay in the league or not?
Again, that's what makes it tough, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I actually think maybe Disasi would look at the fact that his development at West Ham has been far superior than Chelsea. So maybe he would actually think to himself, again, personal growth as a player, be a bit patient. West Ham aren't going to want to spend too long in the Championship. So you take that gamble and yeah.
Let's speak to Kweku, Chelsea fans. Obviously, you've seen a lot of him play. What are your thoughts on this?
I don't think he's... he hasn't got a future at Chelsea, but West Ham fans absolutely love him.
Yeah.
And he's come in and made a huge difference to that football club. And they might still go down, but I agree with you in terms of personal development, being at a place that you're wanted and loved is important for a player that hasn't really had a home for the last 3 or 4 seasons. So I really like that one, and it's been great for West Ham.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, nice shout.
Next up, we've got the first of the newly promoted side. So this is Cov coming up. This is a big name. Do you think they're going to make a punchy signing like this? They're going to have to, potentially?
Yeah, I think we've seen now with the newly promoted sides that you might want to make a signing like this. And I think Villa will look at this and think, because Villa tend to have quite a small squad, so they need all their depth to be available. And that's the one thing that Douglas Luiz can't really offer, I don't think, with the amount of injuries he's had since 2024. But Coventry will look at this and think, wow, this is a premium footballer. This is a calm footballer. Under Frank Lampard as well, he'll only develop. The issue is, can he play every single week? I'm not sure. We've not seen consistent minutes. But to just have him around and any minutes he can get, they're looking at Ross Barkley too. I think these are options that you should look at.
I think Frank Lampard will have that pull as well, because he's so many players who play under him say that he has that respect issue because of what he's achieved, not just as mainly as a player, and they look up to him, that he will have that pull to be able to potentially get a big marquee signing over the line, like Sunderland did in the summer in a way.
100%, and he'll have to lean on his experiences of being a Premier League manager and also being a top Premier League player in his time. And he knows what it takes now in this division. I feel like when we look at the signs of Xhaka, or for Brentford, they bring in Jordan Henderson. I feel like that experience in the centre of the park is imperative. And yes, he's had injury issues, but I think that'd be a great sign for Coventry.
Yeah.
Last one then?
Last up.
Yeah. It's not a second Liam Delap.
A second Liam Delap? I saw Bradley Barcola back there. I thought, wow, that would be a signing for Ipswich, shouldn't it?
So this is more of a sort of sentimental one. I think in terms of, for him, I look to Everton and also Ipswich as places where he can just regain his confidence and get more minutes. And I think Ipswich Town as well, they've still got Kieran McKenna. They're going again with a second season. It'll be a more stable environment, hopefully. So
is this potentially a loan or permanent?
That is a good question. I think it depends what Chelsea want, how much they would want to, if they still think there's a player in a couple of years they want back, or if they want to just move on from it. And what do you think? I
think that screams loan with an option. In terms of see how he develops and see how he gets on. But Chelsea have got so many issues that, I feel like Liam Delap, I don't know. I feel like I prefer the Everton. I prefer the Everton move to the Ipswich move,
And in terms of the board in general, because that completes it now, I thought some great shouts there, Nieve. Kweku, what are your thoughts? Which ones do you like? Which ones do you not like? Any changes that you'd make?
Different Edison as well.
I love Yildiz. I think that's an amazing sign. I love Sorba Thomas as well to Sunderland. I feel like in a difficult season for Stoke.
I like that as well.
They're shining lights. But a solid board all around. And not too many I disagree with.
Take it off. That is the wrong Edison, just to clarify. We apologise. Some great shouts, though. Really enjoyed that. There is confirmation of one player that every Premier League club must sign this summer, according to Nieve. Let us know what you think of those selections at home.